Hello there, yes. As we hurtle into the weekend, I just thought I'd do a quick updatey piece because I was rather blown away when I read an opinion piece in today's Daily Telegraph by Miriam Cates, everyone's favourite scientific Christian. And she writes, the ECHR is a threat to British democracy. Leaving the convention must be accompanied by major changes to domestic equalities legislation. Yes, she and the rest of the European Research Group and the Conservative Party are having a big push on this at the moment. They once again think that, having manifestly failed with their Rwanda policy and their Ascension Island policy, which was never a policy to begin with, but there we go, that what they need to get their own way is simply to break some more international law. Which is fine, they can do that, because after all, that's democracy. Anyway, leaving that aside, it's an astounding piece, because what she isn't really, she is not talking realistically about curbing illegal, as they put it, migration. She is talking about gunning for any bits of legislation that she and the others don't like, lots of which protect people at work. Now, about 2/3 down into the article, I'm going to quote what she says. So let's have a look. It's a culture created by equalities legislation that allowed NatWest to debank Nigel Farage, schools to socially transition children, and a first instance employment tribunal to consider Mayor Forrester's factually accurate views on biological sex, shared by much of the population, somehow not worthy of respect. Now, I don't really understand the next line, so I'm not going to quote it. But yeah, there we go. So she's not arguing about the law. She is arguing about a culture. She wants to get rid of a culture that is part and parcel of living in modern society, if you like. Those three instances aren't to do with, as she puts it at the end, state overreach. They are just the functions of a modern Western country doing its thing. Yeah, a bank making a choice, schools and professionals making a choice, and an employment tribunal. None of these are examples of state overreach, are they? Especially not the NatWest one. Leaving that aside, if the UK were to leave the ECHR without reforming equalities legislation, we could regain the sovereignty required to tackle illegal immigration. I don't know. I thought that was the whole point of Brexit, was that we would have sovereignty. Don't recall anything way back then, because 2016 is really, really receding quickly, about what other things we needed to lose, because this is a loss thing. All right, but there may be far-reaching repercussions for freedom of speech, association and religion, the very rights that post-war leaders sought to enshrine. Yes, but they also sought to enshrine an awful lot of other things as well, which she conveniently forgets. Come back to that. This is not an argument for remaining within the restrictive ECHR, rather a plea for substantial overhaul of UK's equalities legislation, for example by considering the future of the PSED and reviewing the Gender Recognition Act 2004. Yes, indeed. She's going after all of those kind of culture targets that she doesn't like. So it's not about illegal migration, it's about all those other things that they don't like you doing. Now, you can make various arguments about unelected judges. Sounds really bad. Unelected judges in the European Union, right? Or ECHR, I should say, because it's not an EU body. But we don't have elected judges in this country. Our present arrangement, if we were to leave the ECHR, would mean that the government could take away your rights, and the only people you could appeal to as the highest court in the land would be the government. So you can see how attractive this is for people of a certain bent. And we can look across the pond at other countries that have left the ECHR, and they include Russia and Belarus. who presumably have as she puts in her piece, a fine long history of protecting their citizens' human rights and don't really need those pesky foreign judges telling them what to do. I mean, we can go there if you want. I mean, but they are trying to sell you yet another turkey. And I am sorry, but I would not trust Miriam Cates or Mark Francois with any of my rights whatsoever. I wouldn't even want them to look after my cat for the weekend because I know that I would come back and the entire house would have burnt down. But that would have been my fault, undoubtedly. Anyway, I do have a lovely weekend. It's astounding, these people. It's astounding the charlatans that they are. Having comprehensively ruined pretty much everything in this country for over a decade. They've just decided that what they need is more powers to do more of it. I don't know, it's just utterly beyond satire. Anyway, do have a nice weekend. Jesus.